Hello, my name is Daniel. Thank you for being here with me today. If you enjoy real, heartbreaking cheating stories from Reddit, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot to me. This is one of those stories that's been weighing on me ever since I read it, not because it's loud or shocking, but because of how quietly devastating it is. You'll see what I mean. The original poster, whom I'll call Naomi, is 31 years old and lives in a quiet part of Sacramento, California. She met her husband, who we'll call Victor, when she was just 20. He was 23 then, already working long hours trying to get his first Italian restaurant off the ground. Back then, he had nothing but dreams and grit, and Naomi stood by him from the very beginning. They spent over a decade together. 3 of those years, they were married. She gave her 20s to him, supporting his vision, helping him decorate their first apartment, showing up at his late-night openings and dreaming of a future with kids, a backyard, and maybe even a second restaurant. But that dream was never real. Not really. At least not for him. Naomi posted her story under a throwaway account. She had to, she said, because some of her friends follow her real Reddit profile and she couldn't bear the shame. The title was brutally simple. My 31F husband, 34M, served me divorce papers last night. He's been cheating on me for our entire relationship. It was during the height of quarantine. She was still working remotely, trying to keep some semblance of normal. One night, Victor handed her the divorce papers. No discussion, no warning, just cold papers and colder eyes. He told her he wanted her out of their condo by the following Friday. She was blindsided, confused, and above all, humiliated. Naomi comes from a very traditional Filipino family, where divorce isn't just rare, it's practically forbidden. Her parents, now retired, invested nearly everything they had into her wedding and their shared home. She knew she had to get a lawyer, but didn't even know where to begin. She posted online in hopes that anyone could help her make sense of it all before she had to face an attorney and admit just how lost she was. Victor wasn't just emotionally detached, he was spiteful. He told her she couldn't take any furniture, not even the food in the fridge, not even their dog, a gentle golden retriever they'd raised together since he was a puppy. Naomi met Victor when she was still a college student. She used to daydream about growing old with him, maybe retiring near Lake Tahoe someday. She never once imagined she'd be served divorce papers while in her pajamas, barely keeping it together on a couch she picked out for them. They bought their condo 3 years ago. It's in Victor's name, but most of the down payment and renovations came from Naomi's family. Her father, who had worked overtime for years, had handed her a check that nearly wiped out his savings. Now she was terrified of losing the condo entirely. She couldn't afford the mortgage on her own, not for more than a few months, but she was too ashamed to ask her parents for help, not after what they already gave. There's more. Naomi co-signed 2 loans for Victor's restaurants, small but meaningful, and invested a portion of her savings into one of them when things were tough last year. Despite all of that, he wants to cut her out completely. No money, no rights, nothing. She kept repeating one phrase in her post, "We don't have a prenup," and every time she wrote it, you could feel the quiet panic behind the words. Then came the worst part. Victor admitted he'd cheated, not once, not twice, but throughout the entirety of their relationship. The latest affair was with a bartender at one of his restaurants. She's in her 20s. Naomi had met her before. She never imagined. He wanted Naomi gone so he could bring someone else in. She wrote, "I feel worthless. I don't even know how to tell my parents. I did everything right. I kept myself together, supported his business, cooked, cleaned, and I still wasn't enough." She ended her first post not with anger, but with a question that broke my heart. Do men in their 30s ever want a woman who's already been divorced? More of her story is still to come, and it only gets more painful from here. I kept asking myself the same question over and over. What did I do wrong? Was I too available? Too trusting? Too steady? Did I stop being exciting? Did he ever even love me at all? Every time I looked in the mirror, all I could see was someone he threw away. And I couldn't stop wondering, will anyone ever want me again? I'm 31 years old, soon to be divorced, and every time I scroll through social media and see photos of other women with their husbands and babies, I feel like I'm behind, like I've already failed at something I never thought I'd have to restart. Do men in their 30s even want someone like me? Or will they just see me as damaged? That's what I wrote in one of my replies. And to my surprise, that post, it took off. I never imagined so many people would respond. Hundreds of comments from strangers, many of them women, some divorced, some not, all of them trying to help me feel less alone. I stayed up all night reading every single message. I cried more than once, but I also felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Hope that maybe I wasn't broken, that maybe what happened wasn't a reflection of my worth, but a reflection of his choices, his failure to value what he had. So I wanted to update a few things based on the questions people asked. First, yes, my name is on the car title. Victor can say whatever he wants, but legally, it's mine. The registration is in both of our names, but the title, just mine. The condo, that's where things get messy. It's in Victor's name only. I know, huge mistake. But back when we bought it, I didn't think it mattered. My parents contributed more than half the cost, between the down payment and all the renovations. But we didn't make it legal. Everything was in his name for tax purposes. Now I see what that really meant. I handed him a fully decorated home and gave up my legal claim to it in the process. I can't even afford the mortgage on my own without help, but I'm too ashamed to ask my parents to step in again, not after what they already gave.
As for safety, thankfully Victor's not violent. At least, he never has been. But if things escalate, I won't hesitate to call the police. I appreciate those who messaged with concern. It means more than you know. Mentally, I'm holding on. I still shower, still eat, still work. I won't let this break me completely, though it's come close. Earlier today, I told my sister, her name's Andrea, I couldn't keep this to myself anymore. And you know what? She didn't judge me. Not once. She was furious, but not at me, at him. She told me, "You have nothing to be ashamed of. He's the one who should be hiding." Andrea is the one who reminded me that I designed that house. I picked out the backsplash. I chose the curtains. I built a home, not just a living space. And she told me, "You better not leave that house. Don't let her," meaning the mistress, "step 1 foot inside the home you created." So I'm not leaving. Not yet. Victor's working most days anyway, and Andrea is helping me look for a lawyer. She thinks we have a real case to fight for the condo, especially since my dad, being the accountant he is, kept every receipt, every bank transfer, every document. We might not have a prenup, but we have proof. Next step, calling my mom. That terrifies me more than anything. In our culture, divorce is like a scarlet letter. But Andrea says they'll understand, that they'll want me home. And she's probably right. If I go, I'll take the car and drive straight there, just for the weekend, for support, for space to breathe. In the meantime, I'm staying put, and I'll keep documenting everything. People online have been so kind. One person told me, "You didn't make him cheat. He chose that. You're not broken. You were betrayed." Another wrote, "You're not damaged goods. We all have scars. That's what makes us human." And someone else said, "Just tell your parents. They might be hurt, but not by you. They'll be angry at him, not you." And honestly, I think that's true. Victor is the one who lied, who cheated, who manipulated, who threw away 10 years of love and loyalty like it meant nothing. I didn't fail at marriage. He failed me. One comment from a woman named Talia stayed with me. She wrote, "First of all, you did nothing wrong. You did not make him cheat." She said she was divorced too, had gone through the same shame, the same heartbreak. She came from a strict Catholic household where everything was about image and sacrifice, and for years she stayed in a loveless marriage because leaving wasn't something good wives did. She never talked about the misery she felt, not even to her siblings, because she thought silence was strength. But all it gave her was frostbite, both figuratively and literally. Her husband used to park his 2 luxury cars in their heated garage while she shoveled snow off her old hatchback every morning for 8 straight winters. And yet when she finally left him, it wasn't because of the snow or the emotional absence or the disrespect. It was because she realized she had one life and he was wasting it. Talia said something else too. Be grateful he told you now. You're still young. You have time. If your family turns away because of his betrayal, they were never really your family. You deserve people who love you unconditionally, not just when your life looks perfect. And honestly, I think that's true. Victor is the one who lied, who cheated, who manipulated, who threw away 10 years of love and loyalty like it meant nothing. I didn't fail at marriage. He failed me. Another message from someone going by Mo the Truth was more direct. They just kept writing, "Don't move out. Don't move out. Don't move out." They said if I leave first, it could look like abandonment in court, that Victor might be banking on that, trying to get me to rush, to panic, so he can win the upper hand. They told me to pretend I still wanted to fix things, to stall until I had legal guidance, and above all, don't let him know your plan. He already knows the game, you're just now learning the rules. That terrified me, but also gave me clarity. And now, here's the update. It's been a month since Victor handed me the divorce papers. A month of crying in the shower, of pretending to sleep while staring at the ceiling, of walking our dog around the block just to feel the sun on my face. A lot has changed, and somehow so have I. I'm writing this a little wine drunk, sitting on the floor of the condo I no longer recognize. There's eggnog in the fridge, leftover takeout on the counter, and a hollow kind of silence in every room. But for the first time, that silence doesn't scare me. It's peaceful. It's mine. Since that awful night, Victor and I haven't spoken. Not directly. Everything goes through lawyers now. The man who once promised to grow old with me now hides behind legal documents and cold signatures. He moved out on April 27th. He didn't go far, just relocated to the office space above one of his restaurants. Apparently, he's splitting his time between that and her place now. The bartender, the girl he left me for. On May 3rd, his parents called me. I didn't recognize the number at first. I thought maybe it was Andrea calling from a new line. But no, it was them. They were crying, begging, asking me to give Victor another chance. They said he was confused, that he loved me deep down, that this wasn't the real him. But I know better now. This is the real him. The lies, the manipulation, the way he wanted everything. My money, my family's investments, the house, the car, and still had the nerve to say I owed him something. No, there's no going back. Legally, it looks like the condo might be mine. His lawyer has already admitted that there's enough documentation, bank statements, checks from my father, records of every dollar my family put in, that I have a solid claim. Of course, they'll fight. I expect that. But if it's not awarded to me outright, it'll likely be a 50-50 split. Either way, I've already decided. I don't want to stay here. What once felt like a warm, cozy place full of dreams now feels like a shell. I used to imagine raising our children here, painting the nursery, hosting holidays. Now, every corner feels like a memory I didn't ask to keep. It's not home anymore, just an empty museum of what I thought we were. The condo feels more like a graveyard than a home now, a place where memories linger like ghosts, soft, silent, and cold. I don't care much about who ends up with it anymore. Not really. As long as she's not living here, as long as the new missus doesn't get to walk through the same front door I decorated with spring flowers every March, or sit in the reading nook I built for our future kids, then I'm fine letting it all go. Victor had threatened to take the car too, the one he gave me for my birthday last year. But my name is on the title. Even though he still makes the payments, it's legally mine. And the irony is, it's a $100,000 car that just sits out front, getting parking tickets I can't afford to pay. I don't even want it anymore. I can't keep up with the maintenance, and I live in Sacramento, where traffic is unforgiving and parking is even worse. So for now, it's technically mine, but emotionally, it's just another thing that reminds me of him. The only thing I was truly terrified to lose was Luna, our golden retriever. But Victor didn't fight me on that. Maybe even he knew she'd never forgive him. Maybe he couldn't bear to see her run straight past him to get to me. She's my heartbeat in this chaos. About the restaurant, I had a small stake in one of them. It used to make me proud. I'd helped him set it up, planned events, even picked the wine list once. I was there in the kitchen, scrubbing pans when they couldn't afford extra staff. But every 2 weeks, I'd get a check in the mail with his signature on it. And once, maybe as a cruel joke, he drew a crude doodle on it. That was the last straw. I'm selling my share, cutting the cord. I don't care if it's to him or some random investor. I just don't want his name connected to anything in my life anymore. I'll use that money to buy a car that won't bankrupt me, or to put down roots somewhere he's never touched. A lot of you told me to get tested for STDs. It's something I didn't want to face, but I did. I made an appointment at Planned Parenthood and sat in the waiting room trying not to cry. Thankfully, I'm okay. Physically, at least. Emotionally, that's still a work in progress. But something unexpected happened in the middle of all this. My family. I had been so afraid to tell them, to admit that I failed. But they weren't angry, not with me. They didn't scold me or shame me like I feared. Instead, they pulled me in close and held me like they used to when I was a little girl. They told me, "You did nothing wrong. You don't need to carry this." Now that things are safer, I've started visiting them once a week, just to breathe in that old comfort, to sit on the porch with my dad, to eat my mom's cooking and feel human again. But nothing's ever simple, is it? Turns out Victor's new girlfriend, the 21-year-old bartender, her family goes to the same church as mine. And in our tight-knit Filipino-American community, that made everything explode. My mom, she told everyone, told them that the girl ruined a marriage. Said it loud, said it often, said it in front of the wrong people. And suddenly, there was drama. People choosing sides, mothers whispering behind backs at Sunday Mass. Part of me feels guilty because I know how that community works. I know that in their eyes, the woman is always the temptress, and the man, well, he just made a mistake. It's so deeply unfair. And I don't hate her. Not really. She's young, lost maybe, probably thinks this is love. But she's being used just like I was. Only she hasn't realized it yet. I even wrote her a letter, a quiet apology, not for what happened, but for how ugly things have gotten. A week later, her mother sent me a message on Facebook. It said, "You deserved everything that happened to you. I hope you lose everything." They seem like such a sweet family, right? So now I'm just waiting for court, waiting for this nightmare to be over. But something strange happened the other day. It was our wedding anniversary, and for the first time since this all began, I felt fine. I took Luna and drove out to the beach, just the two of us, sat on the sand with a $5 bottle of Moscato and a red Solo cup, let the wind sting my face, and let the sun dry up whatever tears were left in me. And I thought, I'm still here. I survived. I'm 31, and yeah, my life didn't go the way I planned, but I get to rewrite it now. No husband, no lies, no pretending. I saw a photo of Victor and the girl recently. He looked older, sadder. She looked bored. And instead of rage, I felt sorry for him, because he lost someone who stood by him when he had nothing, for someone who only showed up once he had something to lose. This isn't the end of my story, just a brutal chapter I'm finally turning the page on. There's something quiet about grief that people don't often talk about. Once the shouting fades and the doors stop slamming, once the last box is unpacked and the last paper signed, you're left with a strange kind of stillness. That's where I am now. And somehow, even after everything Victor put me through, the part that breaks me the most is realizing how numb he was at the end. Not angry, not regretful, just indifferent. As if I'd been nothing more than a phase. But what hurts more is knowing I gave my whole heart to someone who already had one foot out the door. Someone who smiled at our wedding while planning his exit strategy. I used to think love was about holding on. Now I realize sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let go. I think about that a lot lately, especially on the nights when the condo is too quiet and Luna sleeps with her head on my chest, like she's the only one trying to keep me from unraveling. The hardest part of all this isn't even the betrayal. It's the mourning of a life I thought I had, a future I thought we shared. I imagined so many things that will never happen now. There's no nursery to decorate, no backyard barbecues, no anniversary trips to the coast. All of it gone with a signature on a divorce paper handed to me like junk mail. And still, I'm trying to rebuild. It's slow, messy. Some days I feel okay. Others, I dissolve over a cup of coffee that tastes too much like the mornings we used to share. But I'm healing. Quietly. Slowly. And with help from people who reminded me that even in my lowest moments, I am not alone. So if you're here, reading this, watching this, just know that your kindness has mattered. Every comment, every message, every story shared with me, I read them all. I carry them with me. They helped me remember who I was before Victor, and now I'm trying to get back to her. This is where I leave that part of the story behind. It's not over, at least not legally, but emotionally, I'm done clinging to something that nearly drowned me. And now we move to something entirely different. A new story, a smaller one, but it carries weight in a different way. This next one comes from a woman named Claire, 28, who lives in Portland and rents a basement unit in her landlord's home. She's soft-spoken, introverted, and not someone who likes conflict. But sometimes you don't get to avoid it, especially when someone drives a truck into your parked car. Claire had been renting the unit for 3 months without issue. The listing said it came with one designated parking spot, tight but usable, wedged next to her landlord's 2 massive vehicles. She was careful every time, never scratched a thing. But one morning, as she was preparing to leave for work, she watched her landlord back his enormous F-350 into her small coupe. Not just a bump, a full-on ram. And then, as if the accident was her fault, he stepped out, looked at her, and shouted, "If you didn't park so close, I wouldn't have hit you." The same space he had designated, the one she'd been using exactly as directed. Claire tried to be diplomatic. She told him she'd be happy to settle things without involving insurance if he wanted to pay out of pocket. She even offered to get quotes herself. But instead of cooperating, he laughed, called her an idiot, said she should expect a bill in the mail. That's when something inside her shifted. She wasn't confrontational by nature, but in that moment, she knew this man expected her to stay quiet, to accept the blame, to let it go. But she didn't. She took out her phone, snapped photos of the damage, the position of the cars, the narrow driveway. She went inside, locked the door, and called the police. Later, she sent the officers screenshots of the rental listing that clearly showed the parking spot, proof that the space was in fact hers. And then came the barrage of texts. Dozens of messages from the landlord, calling her names, accusing her of ruining his finances, saying she was ungrateful and manipulative. But Claire didn't respond. Instead, she forwarded everything to the authorities and her insurance provider. She said, "I know I'm legally in the right, but am I the asshole for how I handled it?" No, Claire, you're not. You're just someone who refused to be pushed around, someone who stood your ground even when your voice shook. And that's never the wrong thing to do. What matters now is your safety. This man still has access to your home. He has a key. And while I know it's not easy to find a new place or pack up your life overnight, I hope you're planning an exit strategy, because no one should have to live under a roof shadowed by intimidation. To anyone listening, trust your gut. Document everything. And above all, don't let anyone bully you into silence. You deserve better, always. Other voices echoed the same thing. Claire wasn't in the wrong. One person said plainly, "He's the problem, not you, but don't stay there. He'll make your life miserable if you do." Another added, "You stood up for yourself. That's not being difficult, that's protecting your dignity." And finally, someone named Alicia said, "You handled it perfectly. There's nothing wrong with putting a toxic landlord in his place." Have you ever dealt with someone like that? Someone who used power or control to make you question your worth? If so, you're not alone. And I hope, like Claire, you found the strength to protect yourself. Thank you for being here today. Your time, your empathy, your presence, it means the world. You never know how much healing can happen when people simply listen. Until next time, please take care of your heart and of the people who care for it. Stories like Naomi's and Claire's might feel distant, something that happens to other people. But the truth is, toxic relationships and manipulative dynamics can happen to anyone, and they often begin with small compromises that slowly chip away at self-worth. Naomi's story reminds us how easy it is to lose ourselves when love is one-sided and loyalty goes unrewarded. Claire's experience shows how standing up for yourself, even when afraid, can be the most powerful thing you do. So what can you do to protect yourself? Document everything. Whether it's shared finances, property, or verbal abuse, keep records. In legal matters, proof is power. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, if you're constantly walking on eggshells, doubting yourself, or being gaslit, it probably is wrong. Build a support system. Whether it's family, friends, or even strangers online, don't isolate yourself.
The right people will never make you feel ashamed for being hurt. Seek professional help. Therapy isn't weakness, it's the beginning of reclaiming your narrative. And most importantly, you are not damaged. You are healing. You are surviving. You are still here. And that's more than enough.